Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life. We have a great podcast today. We're going to be discussing and talking to two actors, two people from local theater that's going to be putting on a great show this coming May. And so we want to find out a little bit more of behind the scenes. So actually, why don't we start with Susanna Wilson? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Susanna.
Hi, I'm Susanna Wilson. I'm Artistic Director of Programming for Contemporary Classics Theater. I've been a theater artist for, oh my goodness, 30 years, believe it or not, and actually directing Shakespeare for um, about 20 years, with about 13 years of Shakespeare in the Park specifically. I started in Seattle, Washington as a theater artist, and then came to the Gwinnett County area in 2019 to take over a company called Gwinnett Classic Theater, and then, of course, turn that into contemporary classics.
Cool. Next is Charlie T. Thomas. So Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I've been an actor since 2001. I've done a lot of community theater back in my hometown of Macon, Georgia, so that was a lot of fun. And in 2016, moved to Atlanta to become a professional actor. I've been doing that since. Currently, I am the board chair for Contemporary Classics Theater. I also do a lot of acting around the city. You probably see me in stuff at Actors Express, the Atlanta Shakespeare Company, Aurora Theater. It's been a delightful run here in the city. In my free time, I do a little bit of freelance writing, and it's been delightful. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. Freelance writing, I like that. What type of writing do you do, Charlie?
I'm a playwright, actually.
Oh, okay, neat. That would be great to be able to write your own stuff and act in it as well. That would be awesome. Um, so what are so the reason we're doing this podcast essentially for our listeners is that Shakespeare in the Park is coming to Peachtree Corners and to several other venues, but since we're a podcast here about Peachtree Corners, I wanted to talk about this, what it takes to do this, especially in a space that really hasn't seen Shakespeare in the park or anywhere really, for that matter, that I can remember. I've been here since '95. So unless it's being done in a school like Norcross High School or something, or Wesleyan, which both have great theater. They both have one act plays statewide and stuff, and some national competitions. Um, so I want to learn a little bit more about what it takes to do this, what challenges you guys have faced on this. So let's start with Susanna first.
I want to start with our mission statement, since everything
Sure.
we do
Sure.
actually revolves around this mission. And
Hmm.
that mission is to challenge and transform classic Western theater traditions by creating an inclusive community of diverse people, ideas, and cultures. So that's really important, especially when we're talking about classical theater, because traditional classical theater struggles with representation,
Hmm.
especially for women and for artists of color. And especially in a place like Metro Atlanta, and going directly to Gwinnett County, which is actually the most diverse county in the
Right.
state of Georgia and actually in the
That's right.
entire Southeast region.
Hmm.
Um, what we see is a lack of opportunity for artists to actually learn how to do classical theater and excel in it, um, and just a lack of opportunity for audiences to actually see themselves represented on stage in classical theater. And classical theater is something that really tackles societal issues, as well as just really universal themes like this play, Much Ado About Nothing, which
Hmm.
really is about the universal theme of love and marriage and poking fun at different types of relationships, traditional and non traditional. Um, so I think one of the first challenges that we have doing something like this, where we're doing it, is the challenge of making sure that the artists
Hmm.
really understand how to do it, but also to make it accessible to um, all of our audiences.
Sure. Sure, that makes sense. Charlie, why don't you jump in as well? Tell us a little bit
Uh,
about this.
I'll piggyback what Susanna said about accessibility. I think that's probably one of the biggest concerns and
Hmm.
struggles, not only because you do want your artist to be very clear with the text, it's obviously Shakespeare, so it's a bit dated and not uh, comfortable with the normal modern ear. So you have to be like,
Right.
we have to say this so that people get the message. But also accessibility in the sense of making sure people can get there, making sure people can afford to see said show, making
Yeah.
sure the show is relatable to them.
Yeah.
It's really easy when you put well, I've done a lot of Shakespeare, and it's really easy to kind of distance yourself the more stuffy the performance can get. Like if you
Hmm.
lean too hard into its traditional model, then
Hmm.
people sometimes look at it and say, this might not be for me. I'm not really watching this thing. So the more personable you can make
Yes.
Shakespeare's work really is the way to reach modern audiences, but also trying to do that while not compromising the message that Shakespeare has. You don't want to drown a show in concept so hard that like people are like, "Well, what was the show about?"
Right. Right.
Which I've seen, and I think that balance is something contemporary classics, especially with its mission statement, has worked very hard in trying to secure and solidify. And we did a fantastic production of the Scottish play last year, and I think we're
Hmm.
just moving forward in our delivery and in our style to be able to achieve those goals without losing the magic of Shakespeare.
Yeah. That's cool. It's, I know for myself, I mentioned to Susanna before. I mean, I saw one Shakespeare play. It was a long time ago. I'm old enough that it was like 3 decades ago, if you will. And I think it was Stratford, Canada. It was because I was visiting cousins in Michigan, south of Michigan and Montreal. So I saw it out there. Taming of the Shrew was the play. Thought it was hysterical. I didn't obviously get all of it at the time. Got a little bit more understanding of the language later, but for me at the time it was funny. Now, would that play work in today's audience? Maybe if it was done differently, yes. If it was applied differently, if it was different person being the shrew, if you will, yes. So putting that edge and adjusting a little bit for today's audience makes sense. And it's interesting because, you do sometimes I feel you have to be in the moment to be able to accept it, right? Because language of Shakespeare, you really do have to listen to it. It's not throwaway dialogue. You could be in any play. It could be Wicked or something. It could be anything, and you could be half listening and you get the whole thing. You really can't do that with Shakespeare, right? Um, so how do you do that then? And why did Much Ado About Nothing? Why did you pick that play? Why that one of Shakespeare?
I'll jump in here because I am the one
Sure.
that picked the play, so
Ah, okay. Okay.
I'll jump in for that one. Um, Part of it is selfish. This is a
Okay.
play that I really have been wanting to do for a long time, so part of
Okay.
that is absolutely selfish that I wanted to actually direct this particular play. The other thing is that after doing the Scottish play, Macbeth, we can say it since we're not in a
Mm.
theater right now, last year, uh, this play is it's so extremely different. Instead of being all in poetry language,
Mhm.
even with some rhyming and all of that kind of stuff, this one is in prose, which is more the way that we speak today. So it makes it
Mm.
very easy to
Yeah.
contemporize. And the words that are used are words that we still use today. I mean, there's very few there's I was going to say anachronisms, but it's like the opposite of anachronisms.
Okay.
There's very few archaic
Mm.
words
Okay.
in this particular play.
Right.
So it lends itself to be available and accessible to a greater variety of people because of that. Because even if you are listening to the play intently and you're not getting it all, that's kind of okay. There's music in this play as
Mm-hmm.
well. And as
Yeah.
long as the actors are physicalizing what they're doing as well, you can let some of that language wash over you and catch what you do. And what you do catch, you're going to understand.
Okay. Is there anything unique or different that you've done to bring this forward?
Yeah, so the original script actually takes place at a villa in Messina with
Mm-hmm.
Italian soldiers coming back from war. I have updated this to be a film crew that is returning from an Italian film festival where they have won top honors.
Okay.
So Don Pedro and his men or soldiers are now the crew of a film. And I say men because I've also cross-gender cast and
Okay.
have some female characters in that mix as well.
Cool.
So it's very interesting because it's very clear that both Benedict and Beatrice are writers. So
Mm-hmm.
Benedict is the writer of the screenplay, and Beatrice is a writer in her own right. And so there's a little bit of professional jealousy going on there as well.
Okay. Okay. And Charlie, what would you bring to that?
I would say Much Ado is a fantastic option in a sense of earlier you mentioned that you can't let things slide because you got to let your ear listen to everything because
Mm.
Shakespeare really doesn't waste words,
No, he
especially in
doesn't.
his better plays. The
Mm-hmm.
big ones, Much Ado, Midsummer, all those
Right.
things, Romeo and Juliet. There are no throwaway scenes. Everything matters. And
Yeah.
particularly in Much Ado, it is a play about people, not about monarchs or history. It's very much grounded in a sense of you can be any of these people in any day of your life
Mm-hmm.
and you could be thrown into this scene. So you
Yeah.
do kind of have to listen because even like the servants and the side characters, there's an officer named Dogberry who's hilarious, but these are all just like neighborhood folk hanging out dealing with a situation,
Yeah.
and all the more reason why you normally in a modern play you see someone walk in with a tray and some food and you're like, I'm not going to listen to that guy, like that dude's just
Right.
bringing in
That's right.
like some drinks. But in
Yeah.
Shakespeare and something like Much Ado, that person who's bringing in a drink could also be part of a conspiracy to mess up what's happening, so you
Yeah.
gotta listen to everything. And in doing so, I think it creates not only a great uh situation where you can really enjoy the entire show, not just bits and
Mm-hmm.
pieces, but also it kind of gives you a window into the variety of lives that you could be experiencing at any given point in time.
Yeah.
You just don't
Yeah.
know who's who. You don't know
Yeah.
what lives they're living. You don't know what
Yeah.
they're up to. And Much Ado is a comedy where you kind of like take people at face value and then they show you something different. You're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think this is one of those beautiful plays where it is easy to understand. So all the more reason why you're gonna really
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that Shakespeare does not write throwaway characters. He really
No.
does indulge in the
Yeah.
fact that everyone gets to have a chance to shine
I,
in his shows.
I think in the time that he wrote, he had to make sure he wrote well because the
Mm.
audience would not let him get away with garbage from either
Throw
the
something
pitch
at them.
or, yes, I mean, they probably gave it right back to the actors. And so he's writing to an audience that would never exist today unless you're out there in street theater, maybe. I don't know. But it would be, it's a difficult, no one talks back to actors here now. But yeah, I think that's why most stories they say Shakespeare's done already, right? I think, and where we get all our sayings from. I mean, it's just an interesting place. So we know why you picked the play and stuff. Now the challenges of putting on Shakespeare in a city like Peachtree Corners or any city that hasn't, small city that hasn't had this type of program. Um, I think, you have to get buy-in from the community, you have to raise money, you have to find a place to do it. So what challenges would you share that you've done that other theater groups or other cities that see this would say, how can we put something like this together? What are some of the steps that you had to take to do this?
When I first started the Shakespeare in the Park here last
Hmm.
year in Georgia, I went to a place that I used to go because I enjoyed the park. And I reached out to the department, like just went on the website and found
Right.
like, who can I talk to about this? and reached out and said, hey, I really want to do this. And that was met with a really wonderful open arms because they really were looking
Cool.
for more cultural opportunities. This was at Autry Mill. And then what was really great is that Carl Barnum, who is from the Southwest Gwinnett Chamber, he approached me after we did that show and said, I see that you have done Shakespeare in the Park really near to where we are in Peachtree Corners, and I would like to bring a Shakespeare in the Park experience to my community. So that was just a wonderful windfall for us to get associated with Carl. And then I've, come to find out that Peachtree Corners has just formed like an arts council. I think they're just called Peachtree Corners Arts.
That's right.
And got them involved. And they are now helping to support it. It's probably one of the first things that they're supporting. Do you know if that's true, Rico? If it's one of the first
I
things that
think
they're
so.
doing?
Actually, it is because they just formed not too long ago. And the first grant that I understand, at least the theater part, is your group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, I mean, the city did set up a Peachtree Corners Arts Council to essentially put out a survey, find out what citizens want, what type, do they, apparently a lot of people would like to see a arts theater complex here in Peachtree Corners somewhere. Um, Eventually, that may be probably something that will be done one day over the next 5 years, maybe. So yeah, so they're trying to bring that in to be able to have a place. They just have to find what that niche is like, right? Because you have Sandy Springs Theater, and I think they hold 1,000 seats. I think
Mm-hmm.
Sugar Hill Theater has about 500, I think.
Mm-hmm. That's
You got
about right. Yeah.
right? And you got Lionheart Theater, which is like 80
Very
or
small.
90
Yeah.
seats. That's very small. So go to
Yeah.
these extremes. And I don't know what Aurora Theater holds over there, but um,
Aurora
but yeah,
has two main spaces. So
two
one of
main.
them is
Okay,
about 250 and one of them is about 500.
okay.
So
So they're further away. So it's just something that the city's going to be looking at. This arts company, if you will help raise money, hopefully, for some of these things and guide it with leadership, hopefully. So that's where that's going. Um, so yeah, so I'm glad Carl reached out to you all. The fundraising, I understand, has been going well because stuff like this, the arts always are supported by sponsors. Um, you need them, patrons, if you will. Um,
yes, and
so
donors.
and donors, yes. um, so yeah, so it's a challenge, I imagine, doing that. But this play or this program, if you will be going across um, 3 or 4 locations over the next.
3 locations this year. So we're
Okay,
really excited to have Simpsonwood Park
right,
in Peachtree Corners be our location that we're opening in, which is
right, right.
fantastic. Christchurch Episcopal in Norcross, and then we're
Okay,
back at Autry Mill to close the show out.
excellent. So when do rehearsals start? And you guys,
They are
Shakespeare.
well
Already on the way.
underway.
Okay, good, good. Um, and I today, I mean, it's hard to tell the day to most people, but it's a Thursday, and you all did like a little scene for us at
Mhm,
Southwest Gwinnett Chamber. Um,
mhm.
I'm imagining that was great. It was great done. And if anyone wants to see it, actually, it's on the Southwest Gwinnett Chamber Instagram account. We live streamed that, so it's posted there. So if anyone would like to see that, um, and I'll have links in the show notes and stuff. But what else can you tell us about the process and stuff that you're going through? Things that we should know about or that you'd like to share? We could go with either
Um,
one of you.
well, one of the things that I don't know that people that don't normally go to Shakespeare really realize is how much music there is in
Mm,
Shakespeare as well,
hmm.
especially in the comedies. And this has live music
Okay.
where So we're actually starting the show with live music. And the theme for our entire season, the show is closing out our contemporary classic season, is called Raise Your Voice. And so there's actually been a karaoke element in every single one. So
Ah,
at the very
okay.
beginning of the show, there's a short karaoke element in this as well.
Ah, okay. The audience can join in. Is that what you mean?
Oh, absolutely. They can join
Really?
in. Yeah. It's pretty brief, but we also encourage audience to sing along with some of the, like we're singing an Italian folk song. We'll encourage people to sing along to or
Oh, cool.
clap along to if they don't want to sing, that
Hmm.
sort of thing.
So now this is the first one's going to roll out in Simpsonwood Park.
Hmm.
You guys are going to have to build a stage, bring sound systems, the whole 9 yards. Because I
Yeah,
understand.
the sound system is the biggest hurdle right now. The
Okay.
set we've created, and we're going to do it on the grass. So we're inviting people to come and bring their own lawn chairs, bring their own blankets,
Right.
some coolers, whatever they want to bring. And we will have a cordoned off area that is specific to our donors and sponsors. That's sort of front and center because they've helped bring that to the park. So.
Sure. Sure. Um, Charlie, when you're doing your practices, I mean, you've done this for how long have you been acting now? And doing
Uh,
Shakespeare in particular?
Professionally, I've been acting since 2016, but I've been technically acting since
Oh,
2001.
oh, okay. What were you doing before 2016? You're a young
Uh,
man.
I, I was doing a lot of community theater, actually. I
Okay.
went to school at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, and
Okay.
realized Macon had a phenomenal community theater community. Actually, several of the actors that I work with on in those stages have made it to Broadway. Like currently, one of my closest
All right.
friends have just opened up the Heart of Rock and Roll on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
I had
Okay.
another friend who was in Shucked recently, the original Damien and Mean Girls. All those people I did community theater with, and because of that, I have a very, very, very large, big old warm spot for community theater. I think it's one
Mm,
of the greatest things that theater practice can give is letting people who work 9 to 5s and stuff come
right.
in and be able to also live out a dream of telling stories on stage. It's a great collaborative process and probably what I feel to be the most purest form of doing theater.
Mm,
It's like we're just coming
yeah.
together and making something happen.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
whole tagline is "Crew of Patches." One
Mm,
because the comedic thing, but also
right.
it's the idea of like in Midsummer, there's these rude mechanicals, these people who work shops who came together to do a play, and that's kind of like the heart of contemporary classics and community theater. It's just like you can have a life of doing what you need to do to kind of make it through day by day, but then touching this work, touching this art is also enriching and giving back to the community. I don't know. I'm the geek about it.
Huh. I could see that, but that's good because I mean, you show the passion on there. I've known some actors that have done like summer theater. They've gone places. So do you do that too? Do you end up traveling to different places for some of the
I
work?
try when I can. I'll sometimes go back to Macon, especially, and do work. Now that the people who were friends with me in college are now both leading the community theaters there, it's been great to collaborate with them in a different aspect. But
Okay.
yes, trying to get as many experiences from many theaters as possible,
Hmm.
many practitioners as possible is always a gift.
Yeah. Cool. Susanna, what's the next steps once you all this is a process. You're still working on fundraising and stuff, but once you get this past this season, if you will, are you looking to
Mhm.
be able to? Is this an ongoing thing? How are you setting this up?
Yeah, that is absolutely the goal, which is one reason why we need to raise so much money this year because we need to have some systems in place, things like body mics, that
Right.
just will help everybody be heard, especially since we're outside.
Hmm.
Those kind of things are very expensive, but we
Yeah.
need them as sort of, something that will help us to become sustainable and be able to
Right.
do a Shakespeare in the Park experience and hopefully eventually you'll be completely free to everybody with
Hmm.
that ongoing support from
Yeah.
sponsorships.
Okay.
That's the goal, the
Yeah. I mean,
dream.
quite frankly, what I'd love to see, my ultimate would be at Simpsonwood, but it would be a festival built around it, if you will,
Hmm.
almost like what is that? festival that's out by Six Flags, I think. Renaissance, the Renaissance Festival.
Oh,
Almost
like
like
Ren
that in a way.
Fair.
Yeah, almost
Yeah.
like that a little bit, right? So you have a bit of that going on, you have food, and you have other things going on. This way it becomes sort of a party atmosphere, which is what Shakespeare's about, I think, in a way. Um,
Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
think, yeah, I think that would be kind of cool to be able to see that happening. Certainly, this is a great first step. Doing this, returning back to Archery Mills also is a good thing for a second year. If people want to, if companies that see this want to be able to donate or become a sponsor, obviously there's speakers, there's mics and stuff that's needed. If there's a company out there that even has some of that that would like to donate it for the event,
Hmm.
um, or lend it, if you will, for the event and stuff, or if they want to do money contributions or other things, would they contact you about that, I'm assuming?
That would be perfect. So our email is crewofpatches@gmail.com.
Hmm.
But our website, you can also contact us through the website and also find out a little bit more about us. That is crewofpatches.org, O-R-G, since we are a
Gotcha.
501c3. So that does
Okay.
mean obviously that any donations are tax deductible.
Yep, yep. And individuals that want to do it can do it as well. And
Exactly.
it and any dollar amount is fine.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Um, and I can see this if this becomes a regular thing, that there'd be season tickets also. So that's another way of doing this, right? Subscriptions, if you
Yeah.
will. Um,
Eventually, we hope to be able to grow to that.
yeah, that would be great. Anything else you want to share with the audience about the play, about some of the challenges and such, or your mission? I mean, how many actors actually are involved in this? That's
So
curious about that.
there's 12 actors, which is a very traditional number, believe it or not. That
Okay,
means a couple of people are doubling or that I've combined roles into one.
okay,
Um, and we've got one musician, and then of course we've got the production team, which is the people that are working on like sets and costumes and stage
okay,
management, that sort of thing.
okay.
And then we've got six understudies understudying those 12 roles as
Oh
well.
wow. Okay. In case someone gets
So
sick or something, or break a leg,
exactly,
or
exactly. And, post-COVID, I learned the
yes,
hard way that you need to have understudies.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I imagine, especially in small theater, yeah, I would think, right? Because someone can't show
Absolutely.
up and something happens. Sure.
Yeah. And
Um,
I also want to tell people, this is a family-friendly show. There is some like I said, because I've definitely turned some roles that were traditionally male roles into female roles.
sure.
That does mean that one of the relationships in the show
Hmm.
is now a same-sex relationship,
Okay.
which also brings it into the contemporary world.
Sure. I mean, listen, Shakespeare was all male, right? So I mean,
Exactly,
some
exactly.
of the
That was an all-male
characters had a
theater
cross
tradition.
dress, right? So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so it's actually being more yeah, it's good.
There's
It's
some
all good.
Spanish. I put throw some Spanish in
I
there
saw
just
I saw that
just for
this morning.
fun.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
But especially come from New York, that was kind of fun watching that whole that part of the scene. Um, great. So if you all are enjoying this conversation and want to see the play or any of the at any of the locations, I'll have links in the show notes. If you want to donate, sure. Again, links in the show notes. You can reach out to them, to the company. And if you have any suggestions or anything that you'd like to share with them, certainly put that in the comments if you're watching this on a stream, or just email Susanna, and they'll be able to get back to you. So with that, unless is did you share your website address? I think
Yeah, crewofpatches.org,
.org.
O-R-G.
All right, cool. So cool. Anything else that I think we're all good at this point, right? Anything else you
Yeah.
guys want to share?
Yes, a reminder that these artists are so excited to see these communities and engage with them, and we can't wait to see people's faces.
Yes, it's going to be exciting. So hang in there with me. I just want to say thank you to everybody. EV Remodeling Inc. is a sponsor of ours, so we want to say thank you to them. Eli lives here with his family in Peachtree Corners. They're a big supporter of ours as corporate sponsors, both with the magazines and the podcasts that we do, so we appreciate them. Go visit them at evremodelinginc.com. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.